F1 fans, it's the moment we have all been waiting for. The 2023 season has kicked into high gear and our weekends finally have meaning again. Welcome to The Stare, an all-new vodcast series from Heineken 00 in partnership with Loop News. I'm Shanique. On each episode, I'll be joined by a Formula One fan and motorsport experts to keep track of all the news, views, and the inevitable drama from the F1 grid. Let's get into the action with the top 5 things that you need to know. And here to help me break it all down is Formula One super fan, Samantha Ray. Welcome to The Stare, Samantha. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. And yourself?
I'm good. I'm ready to start talking about this 2023 season. But let's go back a little bit. How did you become an F1 fan?
Years. So racing is in my blood, my family. My mom is actually the first female champion of Dovo. My dad's been racing for 50 years. He was supposed to retire, but that's not working. My sister, my cousins, my whole family on both sides, funny enough, is in racing. So growing up as a little girl, it was wake up early and watch races with daddy. Ayrton Senna died in '94, a few years before I was born, but I remember growing up and hearing about his rivalry with Alan Prost and seeing videos, and I'm a diehard Schumacher fan from my dad. So that's my childhood, my sister and I watching races with daddy.
Nice, nice. All right, so I feel like I have the perfect person to break this all down with me. All right, so the first thing that we need to talk about is the starting grid. So last season, 2 big driver changes were announced. We knew that Sebastian Vettel was retiring and Daniel Ricciardo said that he was leaving McLaren. So we knew we were going to be having some changes on the grid, right? So let's take a look now at what we have for this season. So Red Bull, let's start with the defending champions. What sort of performance do you think they'll be bringing this season?
I don't think anybody can deny that Red Bull is strong. They're strong. However, I think we all know that that strength leans in one direction. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I never want to discredit Verstappen. He's a great driver. However, as a team, I think Red Bull needs to focus on the strength of Checo a lot more because he's a talented driver. And I don't think it's fair that he gets pushed to the back. But of course, I know they'll be strong. They'll definitely come out strong, and their strategies seem to have been working. Yeah. And they definitely used Ferrari's downfall to their advantage last season.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, we'll talk about the driver pairings a little bit more when we get there. But yeah, I definitely agree with your analysis so far. And I feel like since you mentioned Ferrari, before we get to them, let's get to Mercedes. Because, you know, Mercedes, they've been the champions for unprecedented 7 years in a row and all of that. So Mercedes, they had their setbacks last year. The car wasn't running the way Lewis and George wanted it to, but towards the end of the season, they kind of picked up and they got better. So what are you expecting from them this season?
Well, honestly, I hope that we get to see more of the George that stepped in for Lewis the season before when he had COVID. I want to see more of that because that was spectacular. For Lewis, I want to see him, you know, defy all the haters. Everybody who's saying, oh, he's washed up or he's going to retire, I don't think he is. I think he has some stuff left in him. And Lewis isn't, in my opinion, here for the wins. So I hope Mercedes regroups, figures out what went wrong last season. Because they were getting strong at the end of last season. So, you know, just keep going in the right direction and hopefully we'll get to see some new battles.
Yeah, I'm hoping Mercedes gives George and Lewis a car that they can compete with. There's no denying that they're talented drivers, but you have to give them something to work with. So I'm hoping, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that this season we'll have nothing, the car will be fine, and the drivers will be able to push to their full potential.
I mean, in motorsports, you know, it's never a set way. Anything can happen. However, when it's a constant, it must be frustrating for the drivers because as fans,
trust me, it was painful to watch last season. So let's get to Ferrari. So Fred Vasseur, he's the new boss over there. They got rid of their last boss. And, you know, I guess if you watch last season, you cannot understand why.
Yeah, he made some mistakes.
He did. And it cost them dearly. But this season, they are said to be quietly confident. So do you think they can make the necessary improvements that they need to fix their reliability issues?
All right. The thing is, Ferrari has always been a household loved team. And they've definitely had the right strategy before. Quietly confident, yes, because I think in everybody's hearts, everybody has a little piece for Ferrari in there. So yes, I think we're all hoping for them to regroup, figure out what went wrong, and make the right choices. And let's see if Fred leads them in the right direction.
Yeah, I feel like Fred brings that new energy that they want, and so far, you know, everybody feels confident. I mean, I sense the quietly confident. I don't know how quiet it is because we keep hearing about it, but you know, the drivers, Fred, everybody is really confident about what they're going to bring this season. So it'd be interesting to watch what's happening at the top 3 end of the table.
Yeah, because when Ferrari is at their peak, they're fair competitors, very fair competitors. So and they have 2 great drivers.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. But we know we have other teams on the grid. We have 7 more. So let's talk about the best of the rest. Who do we expect to stand out apart from all? We have McLaren, we have Alpine, we have Haas, Williams, Alfa Romeo, Aston Martin. And, you know, and who are we expecting? AlphaTauri as well. Who are we expecting to distinguish themselves early out in the season?
So, Alfa Romeo and Alpine had a lot to say last season. Not too much to show for it. I'd like to see them have some backative to their talk. That'd be interesting. But McLaren. Yeah. You know, I disagree with you there. I'm going to give it to Aston Martin. Yeah.
I want to see what Lance Stroll will bring, but I have no doubts about Alonso's talent. If they give him the car, he can do it. I'm backing them. I'll back them.
As for drivers, though, I definitely think that Lando Norris should get a chance. He's a very talented driver.
Agreed. All right, so we talked about the teams a little bit. So let's talk about the cars. Now, what is a Formula without the cars? Now, Ferrari's launch, everybody's talking about Ferrari's launch because of the way they did it. They did it on the track. They had the fans in the stands. They had, you know, the drivers out in their suits and all of that. However, the car that everybody's talking about is the Mercedes W14. Let's talk about the liveries. What are we thinking? What do we like about them? What do we don't like?
I'm trying not to be biased, but the Mercedes is beautiful.
Yes, it is.
And I think an important part of Formula One, which is why I think Ferrari did their launch so well, is interactive with the fans and social media and using what we have. So I think Mercedes and Ferrari definitely have the advantage there. But in terms of the looks, little changes here and there, but I think definitely, as you said, Ferrari made their mark with their launch, but Mercedes has to take it for me.
Yeah, when I saw the car, I wondered, all right, are we going back to, you know, when Lewis asked him to change the car to black and he was making a statement, or was it really a weight thing? They're saying it's a weight thing, or is it just because, you know, black just looks really good on the track?
I heard that they were trying to cut down on paint.
Yeah, so that's for the weight, No, the car is beautiful. The car is gorgeous, and weight issue or no weight issue, if there's a weight issue, I'm glad for it because the way it stands out when it's going around the track, man, you can't miss it for sure.
Definitely sleek, definitely.
All right, so what's Formula One without the drivers? No, the pairings, every year we talk about it. No team likes to admit that they have a number 1 and a number 2. The driver lineups have changed. Like 6 of the teams so far have changed their driver setups. So let's talk about it a little bit. What surprises are we in for? What's our take on it? So let's start first with Mercedes, Lewis and George. What do we see? What do we think will happen there? Will there be a clear number 1, or will it be Mr. Consistency?
I'm hoping not. I'm hoping there isn't a clear number 1 because both drivers are strong and both of them are very talented. So I'd like to see that utilized a lot more. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, in the past, we've seen Lewis has always risen on the Mercedes team, but I think George will be a formidable teammate. Like, he's been Mr. Consistency all last season. You know, he did race really well with a car that wasn't really up to par. So I believe if they have the car this season, we're going to be seeing a lot of, I'm hoping for a lot of 1-2 wins from them, you know, on the Mercedes team. So that's great. Let's get to Max. Max is the defending champion. There is no doubt about his ability to drive. There's no doubt about that. And he's paired with Checo on the Red Bull team. So what do we expect from that pairing?
I think everybody, including especially Checo, has been frustrated with the way I think Red Bull has been handling it, which is, you know, Checo getting the what left, kind of. He's there as a support driver, which I don't think is fair because he's quite talented. So I want to see more of Checo getting his time to shine. As much as Max is defending champion, I think Checo deserves a chance. So I hope to see more of unison than a stepping stool.
Okay, fair enough. Over at Ferrari, Charles and Carlos, they've had a good rapport on that team. I don't think I've seen them push a clear number 1. Maybe I'm wrong, but what do you think? Do you think they have one?
I think it's safe to say that they're probably everybody's favorite duo. They work well. They don't take away from each other. They're interactive. And I mean, to see their friendship play out as well as the support as co-drivers. So I'm excited to see how far they'll go.
Yeah. You mentioned McLaren earlier, and you said, listen, don't count them out and don't count out Lando Norris.
Yeah.
But Lando is now paired with Oscar Piastri because, you know, Daniel Ricciardo is now at Red Bull as a reserve driver.
Which I'm very sad about.
We'll get into it. But tell us, what do you expect from that pairing with Lando and Oscar?
Well, Lando for sure, I've seen definitely some impressive driving from Lando. And I think he just hasn't gotten the chance. As you were saying with the Mercedes, you know, when you have a car that is not always reliable, it's frustrating. But I hope to see more of Lando's skills, and I think Oscar will surprise us.
All right, so the team that I am picking to lead the midfield, Aston Martin. So you have Fernando Alonso and you have Lance Stroll over there. So what are we expecting from them?
Well, Alonso holds my heart.
Yeah.
As an old-time driver, I just remember David Coulthard, Michael Schumacher, Hulkenberg, all of those drivers, and Alonso was always there. I hope Alonso continues to show us why people love racing, because that's what he does. He doesn't just go out there and go, I'm not winning. He goes out there and he makes us all remember, this is what we love.
Yeah, yeah. So let's get into predictions. Prediction time.
Ooh.
So how do we think the season is going to go? Let's start off. Is Max getting the 3rd straight win, or will Lewis be getting his 8th win?
Honestly, for some reason, I don't think either. Hoping for Lewis, but...
So you're predicting an upset?
Yeah.
Okay, who's that?
Let's maybe look at Ferrari.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, of course, diehard Mercedes supporter here. So I hope Lewis finds his groove, or maybe George. So.
All right, so you're predicting an upset maybe on the driver's side.
Possibly.
What about the constructor's side? Who do you think will win the constructor's
Mercedes.
championship? Yeah? All
For
right.
sure, Mercedes.
Okay. And the new boys. So I know you have a place in your heart for Logan.
Yes.
Because you know Logan
Yes.
through, you know, go-kart racing days. But who do you think will finish highest in the standings?
Nick.
Of the new boys, yeah?
Nick. He's a rookie. Technically not new, because he debuted in Monza.
Right, he did
But
stand in.
I think Nick. I think Nick has something in store for us.
Nice, nice. Well, Sam, this was a discussion that I feel like we have to meet at some point in the season and see where we are. See if the predictions
call you 4
are
races in.
I feel so. I feel like we have to just figure out, did the predictions, are they tracking well? Are they going to come true or what? I feel like we need to catch up. But thank you so much.
So winner buys the other Heineken?
Yes,
Thanks.
winner buys the Heineken.
Thanks.
The Heineken 00 is on the winner. All right, cool. No problem. Thank you so much, Samantha, for joining
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Now you can win a trip to Miami to watch the Formula One Grand Prix live with Heineken 00. Purchase a 6-pack of Heineken or Heineken 00 for your chance to win. Let's take a look at the Heineken 00 responsible driver. We're keeping an eye on the penalty points for incidents on the track. Formula One aims to promote safe driving behavior on the track, and as such, penalty points are issued for what is termed as driver transgressions. And if a driver accrues 12 points over a 12-month period, he has to serve a 1-race ban. We want to identify the Heineken 00 responsible driver, and in this episode we highlight Valtteri Bottas, Lewis Hamilton and Carlos Sainz, who are all currently on 0 points. However, at the other end of the table is Pierre Gasly, who really needs to be careful as he's already on 10 points from last season. 4 of his penalty points came from collisions he caused last season. 1 was with Lance Stroll at the Spanish Grand Prix, and the other with Sebastian Vettel during the Austrian Grand Prix. Lance also needs to watch out as well, as he is currently on 8 penalty points. His biggest penalty was for 3 points, and that was as a result of him doing a dangerous maneuver on Sebastian Vettel at the Sao Paulo Grand Prix last season. It's time now for the Experts Chair segment, where we take a peek inside the lives of some of the persons living on the edge of the motor racing world. My guest is a Jamaica Formula Woman driver, Sarah Mizer. Sarah made history in 2022 by becoming the first Formula Woman driver from the Caribbean, earning a spot in the GT Cup Championships. Let's find out more about this powerhouse of an athlete. Welcome to the Stair, Sarah. How are you?
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I'm good, thank you.
Great. All right. So how did you get started in motor racing?
It's actually a pretty interesting story. I used to be into horseback riding, and I started riding horses from when I was 3 years old, but unfortunately when I turned 17, I suffered an accident where my horse kicked me in my face, and that same year I broke my jaw, broke my skull in half for that one injury, which was in January 2015, and then November 2015, I broke my shoulder in half from the same horse. So my parents were asking me just to take a small step back, and my dad, who has a long history in motorsports, he suggested, why don't you try go-karting in the meantime, finish high school, and then when you finish your exam, you can get back into riding. So I started go-karting, and I absolutely fell in love with it, and it just kept through into the sport, and now I'm here.
Now that raises a very interesting question for me because, there are persons who would have gone through a traumatic accident as such, and they would have taken a step back from sports in general. What made you even want to continue in sports?
Well, I always like to give that credit to my stubbornness, where it's everyone was in my ears when I was, I went from being a top athlete for my own career. I was playing 6 different sports a week in high school. I was riding horses. I was training for the Pan American Games for horseback riding. And then after I got that injury, it was about a 6-month recovery. And after the first month, my victory for the week was making up the stairs in one go. So it was a huge step back, but I had so many people in my ears telling me, Sarah, you have to take a step back now. You're not going to get back into the horses. What you going to do? You need to relax now. And it was just like, well, why do I have to do that? Why can't I just go right back to what I was doing? It's just a hiccup. So it's more of just the mentality of knowing that just because it's a step back doesn't mean you can't keep going forward.
So motor racing is much different from horseback riding. It's a male-dominated sport. Did that ever deter you, being a female in the space? Did that ever deter you from pursuing it?
I never looked at it as I'm the only woman here. It was definitely intimidating, I can tell you that. It wasn't easy, but I had a good group of people around me pushing me and supporting me and believing in me when I couldn't. So it didn't deter me. It only forced me to kind of take another step up and be like, you know what, I need to be here. I want to be here, so I'm going to show that I belong here.
Okay, great. So we talked about your achievement, your latest achievement in any case, on the international scene. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about some of the achievements you've had on the local Jamaican scene as well.
Well, one achievement is I'm slowly making history in Jamaica, where I've started in the streetcar class and I've gone up one class at a time, and I've won every single class with the same car from Modified Production 1, 2, and 3 recently in 2022. And now I'm entering MP4, which is a bigger class with the same car with some slight adjustments to it for speed. But that's slowly what I'm working towards, just to have a championship title in each class.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And I feel like with all of those accomplishments locally, it only made sense for you to go for a historic space in the GT Cup Championships. Right. And you got that space. You are now the first Caribbean woman to achieve that. What did that achievement feel like for you?
I was so overwhelmed in pride just for Jamaica, where it was, this huge competitive scene where the GT Series, where they're worldwide. It's not just in the UK, it's in the European Series, America Series, it's all over the world. And it's the fact that I can now put the Jamaican flag on the circuit with all these international countries. It's just been so prideful and so amazing to be able to say, you know what, we're likable with Taloa,
Yeah. What has your experience been like so far? I guess you're preparing for that the next season of it. What has your experience been like so far?
In the preparation? It has been intense. Off-season has been a little bit different now that I've experienced a professional year and taking a step back to kind of recalibrate, start back training now, get back into the fitness training, started January. Now this weekend I'll be at Dover. And it's just been, it's nice to take a step back and relax, but it's good to start getting back into gear.
And what are your goals in the space? What are you looking forward to achieving? I mean, of course, a win, but what else?
Well, this upcoming year, I'm looking for the championship in MP4, and this year we're looking at a GT series in Europe. So we're still buffing out some of the details. So it hasn't been confirmed as yet into what car, what series, but there are big things to come.
For sure, for sure. So you're in the Formula Woman space, but in the still Formula space, Formula Series space. So you are poised to tell us your predictions for how you think the 2023 season would go. Now, everybody's talking about who will be in the top 3, right? And there are 3 teams that everybody calls. But what about the midfield? What about the smaller teams? Who do you think would be ranking in the first, second, and third in the midfield area?
Well, I actually would keep an eye out for Lando Norris, Alonso, and those two specifically, as well as Pierre Gasly. They have shown promising progress in their field. I mean, Lando Norris, I believe to be one of the best out there, and I believe if McLaren could catch up with maybe his talent or the engineering behind it, he could be far ahead. And I know Aston Martin has done a lot of improvement, so I wouldn't be surprised if I actually see them coming up P4, P5. So there's a lot of interesting things that have been going on, testing in the upcoming races, but it's a lookout to see. And especially the new teammate that Lando has, I think he's going to outdo a lot of what everyone's expecting.
Yeah, I agree with that, actually. I really do agree with that. So what's the legacy that you hope to leave as a female race car driver?
As a female race car driver, I hope to leave behind another door open for younger women, for younger girls. Because you know, when you're in grade 6 or even young grade 3 and you do that presentation of what you want to be when you get older, and you have doctor, lawyer, and all those engineering spots that are now opening up for women. Now I want to say, like, listen, like, this is something for you as well. If you have a passion and if you fall in love with it, like, the door is open for you.
Thank you so very much for joining us on The Stair. We're looking out for all the amazing things that you're going to do this season. Cannot wait to see it. So thank you for stopping by.
Thank you so much for the support.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Stair, presented by Heineken 00 in partnership with Loop News. Don't forget to subscribe to The Stair on YouTube so that you don't miss out on any episodes.